your shit splat. Stop, let this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. Get your lick back. If a nigga owe you something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop, let this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. I feel like I'm JX. J-Way. I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless. I'm gone. Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that neck. Give me to the trends. See a lead, be the band.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. As promised, we were going to come back with some reactions to our final roster, and I don't think we have an official announcement, but we do have some more information to announce. The biggest one being the biggest one being they're excited too. They're pumped up too. But the biggest announcement being that Kevin McGonigal has made the opening roster. He's been getting a lot of playing time. He's been playing all over the infield. He had a hit last night. Just professional at bats. He's had more walks than strikeouts. Pretty much did everything that they could have asked him to do. And AJ Hinch says that we're trying to win a World Series, and Kevin McGonigal is somebody that can help us get to that point. So that's what I want to hear. But what are your reactions? Are you surprised that he's made the final roster?
I mean, everything was pointing to that happening. He's just everyone else too with the struggles they've had that we noted Sunday as well. And given the power that he does bring, although it might not be, given his size, he might not be a 30 and 100 kind of guy. He should be able to give you at least, double-digit home runs projected this year, throughout a full season. Something they needed last year. They struggled with down the stretch in the playoffs, minus a couple guys that were able to deliver. So a little more stability. He's shown he can play a couple positions too defensively. Made some nice plays. So I'm not gonna say he's gonna be a Gold Glover, but it'll be an overall help nonetheless. So I want to temper expectations. I know we've been riding the high of some of these prospects since probably the middle of the summer last year when the first of a few promotions came through the pipeline with him and Max, and both Maxes, I should say. We shouldn't be looking at him to really lead this team in home runs and RBIs by any short stretch of imagination, but in scope of the lineup, it's just elongating the total threat that the lineup then brings to the opposing roster. So we'll see. I think it might be matchup dependent at first, kind of break them in. So, but we'll see what they have in store. It'll probably be in conjunction with AJ's normal platooning approach. So we'll see.
All right, so I got to put you on the spot. We know now that he's going to make the 26-man roster, which means that he'll be dressed and ready to go. Do you think he plays in the very first opening day game, or do you think he starts in the first opening day game?
I think he's answered the bell this spring. He's played amongst the most in terms of at-bats, and he hasn't he's done well. He's held his own. Again, there's some guys that he's faced, I'm sure, are minor league guys, so you take that with a little bit of grain of salt, but you can't also just totally discredit the bulk of what he's done. He's kind of carried over from last year's rise and improved success into this spring, and he just kind of puts his head down and just goes out there and plays. So he's had a lot of support audibly from his teammates and press conferences and interviews. So where he bats in the lineup, I'm guessing it'll probably be somewhere around the lower end, kind of by the 6-7 spot in there, just kind of takes some pressure off. But yeah, I think the rest of it will be dependent on what pitcher's going for guys like Parker and Javi and Vierling, guys like that kind of might shift his spot. I could see him anywhere between 1-2 and all the way down as maybe 6-7. Oh my God, I can't believe I said that. So, we'll see somewhere in that spot, but certainly not 3 through 5. I think those spots are pretty much spoken for between Carpenter, Torkelson, and Riley Green for the most part. So more of a complementary role to kind of ease him into it.
Yeah, I mean, he's handled it all he's handled it all really well. I mean, obviously, it's been the hot topic, especially after he hit that first home run against the exhibition, against the Dominican team, who I think it was Luis Severino. So we know that's one major league pitcher that he's had some success against. But Nick Pivetta is the opening day starter for the Padres, so that is a right-handed pitcher. So there's an opportunity there. Maybe he's the starting short. Maybe you'd be the starting shortstop. It's tough to say, but it's obviously between shortstop and third base, I would think, because Glaber should be ready. He played yesterday, so we will see. In any event, we'll get plenty of opportunities, even if it's not in a starting situation. I'm sure that he'll be off the bench in some capacity. So exciting stuff. Scott Harris, you gotta give some credit to Scott Harris and AJ Hinch for pulling the trigger, because I think a lot of us probably wouldn't have been. I mean, obviously it wouldn't have been the exciting decision, but I think a lot of us were at peace with the manipulation of the whatever they call that. I always want to say assignment manipulation, but yeah, we were at peace with him starting in AAA. But I think they understand that he brings a lot of things to the table that we need as far as professional at bats, contact hitter, defense. I think his defense has pretty much solidified anything that they could have questioned. If he had came out there and he was booting the ball around at third and shortstop, there would have been an excuse, a preliminary excuse. But just the fact that he's been so good and seamlessly turning double plays with the vets like Baez and Torres, I mean, he pretty much covered all bases. But that's the news about Kevin McGonigal. But speaking of young rising stars, I don't think we had an opportunity to talk about the spring breakout game, which the Tigers did keep a lot of their young players, such as Max Anderson and Kevin McGonigal, for obvious reasons. They didn't play in the game. So what did you who were the standouts in that spring breakout game from last Saturday, I believe, Friday or Saturday?
Yeah, so it was a fairly higher scoring game. Guys like Max Clark, 1 for 3 RBI and a walk. Bryce Renier, decent showing, 1 for 2 with a walk, runs RBI driven in. Valencia was 0 for 4, but did score. We're not really too concerned about him. Pacheco played third, was 2 for 3 with a run and RBI driven in. And Yost, who hit that pretty personal moment, memory core moment for him, grand slam the other day, went 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run scored as well. I don't really think we had anyone on the pitching side that we were really, keying in on for this year to track for progression. Fairly decent up and down the lineup, nothing crazy, but Renier in 3 at-bats had a 1.167 OPS. Callahan, crazy, went 1 for 1 with a walk or run and RBI driven in, but he also had 3 walks. So he had an 1,800 OPS in there. So, some decent numbers put up here. I know some of these guys you've been, especially Pacheco more recently in the back end of last year, you've done a very good job of putting him onto the new front burner for the next round of prospects coming up now that Detroit's been plucking some of the better ones over the last 18 months up. So, so we'll see. I think it'll be interesting to see how they kind of behind the scenes start to replenish that farm system, because obviously we've fallen out of the top 10 considerably now that we've taken guys like Job, Dingler. These guys are no longer technically prospects, and once we call up, he's called up McGonigal, that will also take a hit to the overall rating, if you will. So Harris now has to kind of redo that cycle after he spent the first 2 years kind of really propping it up. Very nice for them.
Yep, you took the topic right from me as far as Isaac Pacheco. I'm actually surprised that he didn't get any looks in the spring training, but it was good to see him get an opportunity in that spring breakout game. If you're watching on the visual side, that's our first look at Chris Rodriguez, who was I think he was 16 or 17 when he got drafted. He was our international signing, but it appears that he's already put on some size and definitely, flashed some power in the game. This is his first look at the stateside because he played in the Dominican last year. So I think he'll be playing with the Flying Tigers in low single A. So that's encouraging that he's progressing. But yeah, when you talk about guys that are likely to start boosting up our prospect rating now is a now healthy Bryce Ranier, because Kevin McGonigal will likely fall off that list, getting plenty of service time. That's the word I was looking for, service time manipulation at the major league level right out the gate. So that's what all the takeaways from the spring breakout game. Let's get to our first and only break and then talk about the rest of the roster moves. All right, so obviously the hottest topic was the Kevin McGonigal news. But what else do we know about the roster? For one, I think Emmanuel De Jesus' agent has come out and confirmed that he's made the 26-man roster, which there's no surprise there. I think that he actually had a short appearance and got a hold last night, but I think he ultimately ended the spring training without giving up a single run, which is really encouraging for us. But staying on the bullpen and pitching side of things, we did get some bad news about Beau Brieske. Do you know what his injury was?
It was an oblique strain. I think it got reported like a week or two ago, and they said they would reevaluate. Now I feel like every time I hear them use that term, it's only been associated with guys who it ends up being the worst of the worst case. So like Job and some of those other guys, so you hear that
Melton,
now, it's like
same thing.
Yep. SGL technically too has been under this, been concerned whether he's been ready or not. And they already said he probably won't. But I mean, at this point, he missed a chunk last year too. It's like at some point, they say your best currency is availability. And if you're not available, guy's going to pass you just naturally. But so it looks like it's going to come down to Brent Herter and Brian Hanafy for the who does and then does not make it, with De Jesus being announced that he is making it, which well earned by him. And then in a very interesting move with the Beau Brieske news, they signed recent Blue Jays DFA'd Chris Seabold to a veteran minimum $800,000 contract, who will be on the opening day roster as well. So I think the interesting part in terms of the final roster will be who gets cut for McGonigal, essentially. So, because you now have 41 guys listed. So it won't be someone just going down. It'll most likely be someone that either doesn't have any options, or if they do, it's just they've performed at the very lowest output of everyone else that they have available to cut, because it will be someone they have to DFA permanently going forward to make room.
Yep, and just to give you guys some context on Connor Seabold, he was actually in camp with Toronto and exercised his exit clause for not making the team, similar to what happened with Austin Slater. So he's a veteran. He doesn't have a lot of major league experience from what I can see, but he's 30 years old, so he's certainly been around. I think there were I think AJ Hinch did make some type of statement about him, but I wasn't able to find it. But so he's going to make the team outright. And they said he had 13 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings. And he will not be able to be sent back down to the minors without being exposed to waivers. So I don't know how hot of a commodity he is, and who would necessarily jump on the opportunity of scooping him up. But as far as his major league experience, it's not hot. 4.35 ERA last year and 7 games, 7.52, 11.29. So You know, we struck gold with Drew Anderson, and that was kind of a head scratcher for us. But AJ's not above making some not so great decisions. I mean, because it kind of reminds me of Brebbia. I can't remember his first name, but he's somebody.
Brebbia.
Yeah, he's somebody that we picked up towards the end of spring training, and it wasn't a favorable acquisition, but we'll try it again. Obviously, they didn't have confidence in on the other guys that were already on the 40-man roster, because obviously this was a corresponding move to the Bo Brisky situation. But yeah,
in all fairness too, but the other guys that we've noted are mostly starters, right? Melton, Anderson, Montero for the most part, I know, but he was a long relief 3, 4, 5 innings last year. And I know they're trying to aim Kiter to be a backup starter, considering the depth that we've lost have been mostly starters. So this kind of makes sense. Harris going back to the Kmart blue light special bin. But, you got to imagine one of these, law of edge tell you one of these has to hit, even if it's just mediocre. And I think that's all we're really asking for. Just get us through, nothing crazy, and then, get some guys back hopefully midway through the year.
And Connor pitched last night as well. I think he pitched a clean outing last night, so they didn't waste any time throwing him right into the fire. So outside of that, the other guys optioned to AAA, most notably, is Wenceel Perez, Jace Young, Trey Cruz, Max Anderson, John Peck, Tomas Nido, Gunther, Ricky Vanasco, and Birch Smith. No big surprises there. I mean, Young had a damn good spring training, but there wasn't a lot of options for him. Obviously, I guess you can say he was competing with McGonigal for one of the infield spots, as well as Colt Keith, who I don't think either one of us anticipated him, being overtook by Jace Young. But we talked about Wenceel Perez, didn't have a good spring training at all. I want to say he's is it possible that no. Oh no, yeah. So he's actually playing right now. He's already been, even though he's gonna be sent to AAA, he's actually still in the lineup today. So with this one being our last exhibition game, he'll report to Toledo. But definitely had a rough spring. He had a good opportunity to make the team, but so I guess pretty much are there any other? Well, you said Herder and Hannafy competing for one of the last spots, possibly. We don't. I don't think we know that for certain, but that's the speculation right now. But are we left to assume? I guess we're left to assume, because of the Wenceel Perez thing, that Parker Meadows and Jahmai Jones made the 26-man.
Yeah, I mean, Parker will be. Yeah, I mean, Parker is on no matter what 40-man, because he still has years of control left. I think Jahmai, we had kind of keyed on. He was at one point prior to the WBC would have been. The odds-on favorite, because he had a very slow start, but then he had a good showing with Korea, came back, put some hits together, some productions that kind of gave him additional life the final stretch of spring training here. And I know we talked about it offline too. You're like, well, part-time right-handed hitter against lefties, where Vierling can damn near play every day and can play anywhere in the outfield. He can play third. Briefly at the end of 2024 in a pinch because of Torque's end of the year decline, then did play some first base briefly when Job came up in that Chicago White Sox series to make his debut. So he's kind of become the new McKinstry, except more outfield focused than infield focused. So I think with Parker, he probably becomes more of a bench player, defensive replacement, might start against righties, and then come out for some pinch running ability, just because the speed is still best on the team by far. So I think he still brings some attributes that they do.
So yeah,
There we go.
Curtis Knight says Tigers, let's effing go. Yeah, that's the way I feel.
Parker though, like they'll keep an eye on what the guys do at Toledo, because if Parker can't get it going still, and one of those two guys down there does after maybe 30 days, that's when they'll probably look at the next stage of sending him down to just clear his head, get with Mike Hespin and whoever their outfield coach is in there, and just get to work on some of the basics and getting him back, hopefully up to shape. Because ideally he'd be a guy that we would really like to have come playoff time. You know, he's got the range in the outfield, he's got the speed, he's got some of the intangibles that some of these other guys don't have more down confidently. So we'll see. Dingler's been catching too the last couple games, which has been good to see. He had like a home run or 2 RBI extra base hit yesterday. So he seems to be good. Jake Rogers, weirdly, I saw cleared concussion protocol yesterday. Didn't realize he had been dinged up at all, but
yeah, he had a concussion, hit himself with a bat, hit with his own bat. So I don't know how that happened.
Okay. Yeah. It was,
I don't know if
BP, wasn't it? Like I thought it was BP or something.
Yeah. It wasn't a live game. I don't know if he just tossed it or if he lost it. And I don't know how a bat, I guess you could maybe lose it. And I don't know, but that couldn't have felt good.
Scherzer was bunting in the cage and came back and popped him in the face and like destroyed, like it cracked part of his.
The ball did or the bat did?
Well, he tried to bunt and the ball came back up his bat and popped him right in the face. But that could happen in the cage. I mean, I've seen it even in high school where your bat's that far out in front of the ball and the ball still has to come backwards if you don't put it out in play. So you potentially could put yourself right at risk, even if you got a helmet on. But that's good. He cleared, so he's ready. Lord knows we don't need another weird injury at this point in time. We're dealing enough as it is. But yeah, I think to your bullpen point, Herder and Hannafy will be the guys duking it out for the last spot. But again, that bullpen's going to be, it looks rock solid. I think out of any of the portion, positional players, rotation, and bullpen, their bullpen is rip roaring and really ready to go. So now it's about the offense, giving them enough runs in the lead and locking it down.
Yep. And to your point about Parker, he's definitely got some hits in the last couple of games. He's bumped his average up to 222. The on base is actually not terrible considering how rough he started. It's at 314, so he's got 6 walks. So he's getting on base, striking out a lot, but taking his walks as well. He's got three stolen bases, so he's still showing you the different elements that he can help, and that's not even talking about how good he is defensively. So I don't want to say he has a short leash, but they'll definitely be keeping an eye on not just him, but some of the other guys in the minor leagues. And yeah, Dylan Dingler actually has a 2-run home run today. He had a couple hits last night, so I think he'll again can continue to be one of the better hitting catchers in all of baseball. And obviously, he won a Gold Glove, so that part is pretty much locked in on him.
So let me throw this at you real quick. Now that we kind of know what the roster looks like, if there was, because let's be honest, I think the pitching in both aspects there's almost no weakness, almost. That aside, if there was a position that they were going to look at getting some additional help by the deadline, position-wise, which one do you think we'd be looking at potentially?
If I have to think about it, if there's one spot that we could use a bump, it could be somewhere on the left side of the infield. Obviously, I would say I hope that McGonigal holds down one of those spots. Yeah. So maybe it's third base because McGonigal's playing short, or maybe it's short because McGonigal can play third. Whatever one is easier to obtain, probably third base because shortstop is a premium position. People don't just let that fly. So, I would say you know, I can anticipate that Javi will not have another All-Star season, and that, you know, we could use some, and with there only being Sweeney, Hayu Lee, or, you know, we don't have any guys that we can really depend on, you know, outside of McGonigal, assuming that Javi, you know, doesn't pan out. So yeah, I think it's somewhere on that left side of the infield. I'm hoping that Torres can hold it down, and that Torque, you know, can have another, you know, serviceable year, somewhere around 25 to 30 home runs, and, you know, better splits with runners in scoring position. And then we just have so many outfielders that maybe the center field, you know, I don't know. Yeah. So
now, in that thought, do you think Javi potentially becomes the one that gets shipped out? Because you mentioned the two positions he plays the most of, actually three if you want to count third. I mean, Cole Keith, I think, is a name that's been out there, but it's like, well, he would be your immediate replacement at second base next year when Glaber's gone, because I swear to God, if he gives him another $20 million qualifying offer, and he comes out to his value projected like 11 million, I'm going to lose my mind again.
can you do that again?
I mean, I'd have to double check, but I mean, it wouldn't. At this rate, Scott Harris doesn't cease to surprise me. He does weird things like this. So, yeah, because if it's Colt going out, then you really don't have a second baseman going forward, because you look down the depth chart, it would most likely be Max Anderson. But that's another guy you'd have to purchase a contract and you know, make him a major league player again. So I'm kind of going back to the part of like, right, well, you know, McKinstry doesn't hold too much value. Baez getting paid still a decent amount, but I think he's got 2 years left, so it makes it a little more attractable potentially. And his flexibility now on defense gives him a little more dynamic and usability in that regard. So kind of interesting to see who we would think would go on the way out if we were to bring in a spot on that left side infield, as you mentioned at the deadline.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about Cole. I didn't even mention Cole Keith or McKinstry, because those are obviously, Cole Keith is actually the starting third baseman. So I think that the guy that has the most value would be Cole Keith, just because he has the most years, you know, secured. So he's got some value. You know, he's young. He can play a couple different positions, and he's under contract for a significant period of time. Javi, I don't know if Javi's struggling, I don't know what value he has at the money he's making. So maybe McKinstry would have a little bit of value, but yeah, I think, yeah, if there was ever a spot to that we may need to strengthen, it's either probably either center field or third base. But yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything. Is there anything I missed, or anything that we need to touch on before we get up out of here?
Not really. I think you know, I think another last dark name for that move, if he does start to improve in Toledo, just because of the gluttony that we have of outfielders, and again, control, would bring in someone a bit qualified or a little more seasoned, probably to help out, would be Perez, with his ability to switch hit. I think it'd be, you know, and we've got other outfielders down the farm system that are progressing. So we're in that awkward position again with Sweeney last year. Like, you know, we had McGonigal, we had Max Anderson, guys, and Renier, who we totally didn't talk about after his devastating shoulder injury the first, 60 days last year. So another middle infielder that's really, you know, was a highly touted pick as well. So, you know, it's just be a matter of just too many guys kind of doing similar things, and a matter of being hot at the right time. But I think a combination of Perez and Cole could be really intriguing on who they bring in. But again, I feel like it'd be a guy that would have a year or two more beyond just the rental year to make that make sense for Harris, because, you know, he loves about, you know, value. So it'll be interesting to see. Not trying to say that we're going to be shortcoming in either one of those areas come July, but something that we'll throw out there for let it marinate till the middle of the summer. But yeah, I think they were given the top 10 overall pitching in both bullpen and starting rotation, because obviously yesterday or Sunday we announced that they weren't even in the top 10 offensively, which we understand, but hopefully we can work our way back up there throughout the course of the year. So yeah, opening day's coming up this week. Tigers next Friday home opener against the St. Louis Cardinals, who are on a rebuild. So come back with a good record and, sweep those bum Cardinals right out of Comerica to start. I like the sound of that.
Absolutely. And there's no shame in just adding a little bit of extra punch, at the deadline, because that'll just give us that vote of confidence that we are trying to go all in. And that's one thing that we really haven't done is taking some chances and gone all in for the championship. So that'll be something to pay attention to in the upcoming weeks. But that'll pretty much wrap up the show. Subscribe to the channel, Bleachers to Speakers, as well as Corner to Copa, as we provide coverage for the Tigers this year. Our live shows are normally Sunday to recap the week. Sebastian says, Kevin made it, baby. Let's effing go. Absolutely. That's huge,
I think
man.
he's wearing number 7, too. They announced he's wearing number 7.
Right. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Who wore that last? Scope? Remember Scope? I think he's
Jonathan Scope. Yeah. Geez, I haven't been to a Pudge wore it back in the day when he came over.
Pudge, you're right. You're right.
I'm trying to think. I don't really know too many others. It's kind of ironic. I wore 8 a bit, 8 or 11. So yeah, he'll be wearing number 7. He wore 85 in spring, and I think the 2 numbers he did wear in high school and lower minor leagues were already retired, or in Job's 21, which was the one he last wore down in Erie, and then 7, number 2 is retired by Charlie Gehringer. So he had to come up with a new number, and I think 7 will fit well for him. So many consider it a lucky number. So let's, why not throw that extra in there?
Yeah, it should be electric. As you can see, Scope wore 8 and 7. But yeah, that'll be the return of JV and the reception from Kevin McGonigal taking the field for the first time should be very exciting to go along with everything else. We got some Pistons. We got some Pistons insiders. I heard Cade is shooting and moving around. Is that true? I'm not sure, but that's something worth looking into. That would be interesting to hear. Obviously, that's kind of the first thing that you probably do. But I don't think the collapsed lung situation is going to be as prolonged as it sounds. I'm sure he's chomping at the bit at the just based upon the way that the Pistons have been playing without him. He can't resist being a part of the action. But yeah, that'll do it for the Tigers show. Please subscribe to the channel. Sebastian, we pretty much cover it all around here as far as Detroit sports is concerned. So you'll definitely get your fair share between the Pistons, Tigers, and Lions. And let's get up out of here.
Peace.
Get your lick back. If a nugget on you something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop.